Okay, we got a pretty good start here on our textures for our skateboarder dude, and so far we've been working just on the diffuse texture, and we're going to continue with that with the shoes. But you probably noticed this. We've got a little emblem on the T-shirt here, and I want to talk about how I did this. This was done in Photoshop. And I'm only going to discuss this. I'm not going to show you how, because the Photoshop techniques are very simple and very straightforward, and you should already know how to do this stuff. It's going to explain what I did. Let's take a real quick look, though, at how our textures look when we're rendered. I've actually put lights in here. We've got a key light and a fill light and a backlight here. Okay, so let's go ahead and render this. The lighting makes a huge difference in how well your textures look. So take a look at this, and as you can see, they're not looking too bad. Now, some of the things that we're going to need to do that are coming up are going to be to add bump map, bump maps for the whole character, specular highlight maps, and glossiness maps, which pretty much go hand in hand. Usually use the same map for both of those and then just adjust them accordingly in 3ds Max. But let's get on with how I did this emblem on the T-shirt here. Let's go to the material editor. Let's open up the diffuse slot here. Let's view the image that we have in here. And this is what we've been doing in Viewport Canvas, except for this part right here. And of course, what that is just another image, a PNG file in fact, that I brought into the PSD file in a separate layer above the T-shirt, layer, and just placed it in there. Made sure it was fitting properly and so forth. Something that you can't exactly do in Viewport Canvas, and so that's the reason why I did it in Photoshop, and that's all it took. Now we're going to be doing other things in Photoshop when we deal with creating our bump map texture that we're going to make from this diffuse texture, and also for the specular highlight and specular level, I should say, specular level and glossiness textures as well, that we're also going to make from this and then manipulate in Viewport Canvas. Okay, but that's coming up, and I just wanted to give you a heads up that we're going to be working in Photoshop a bit, and I'll be talking about it just like I did just now, but not actually demonstrating anything in Photoshop. Okay, so let's get on with this. Let's put this away now, material editor, and let's go ahead and open up the Viewport Canvas again. Tools, Viewport Canvas. Let's go ahead and dock this. There we go. All right, now we want to make sure our character is selected first before we try to do anything in here, and we want to continue painting on the diffuse color. Okay, and that's what we worked on last, and so that's still loaded in here. So I'm just going to select the paint tool. All right, and we're going to make sure our layers dialog is showing, and it should look the same. The only difference is that we have an extra layer in here that was actually wasn't put in Viewport Canvas. It's actually there because it's just the updated PSD file from Photoshop with that logo layer on there. If I turn off this layer, you'll see the logo disappear. Okay, and that's pretty much what we did in Photoshop. Just imagine this being in Photoshop in a sense. Couldn't do this in Viewport Canvas exactly. There's ways to load images in here, but not a transparent PNG file. So anyway, what we'll start working on now are going to be the shoes. And that should be a pretty quick video that we're going to be doing for this part, and then the next video will be working on bump maps and specular highlight maps and stuff. Okay, so we're going to work on the shoes. So we're going to get on the shoes layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the jean or denim texture that I used for the jeans to create the texture for the shoes also. But I'm going to adjust this layer so that it doesn't look quite the same. So let's zoom in on the shoe area here. Let's move this layers dialog over just a little bit. I'm going to zoom in on the shoes. Oh, come here, you. There we go. So we can see what we're doing. I want to make sure that, see, mirroring is not turned on. I want to make sure that mirroring was turned on. Don't forget to do that, because I definitely don't want to have to do the same thing to both shoes. So I'm going to go with a little bit larger brush. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this first part right in the 2D view, because it's just going to be so much easier. So let's go ahead and maximize that. Go find our shoe texture. This is the bottom of the shoe here. This is the top of the shoe. And so I'm going to need to start off by, I'm going to make a smaller brush, and I'm going to zoom in maybe a little. That should be fine. Yeah, I'm going to go with a smaller brush so we can get a finer texture. And I'm just going to sort of paint over this entire thing here, because we want the shoe texture to be different than the jean texture as far as the you know, the thread count, so to speak, or whatever, or the little bit finer texture. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so by doing it in here, I can more easily go ahead and so these are going to be sort of like KEDs. So I'm starting off by painting the whole thing, you know, just to make it simple. Painting the whole thing this sort of denim texture. There we go. Let's go and get the other shoe. The other shoe should be around here somewhere. There, it's over here. There we go. Zoom in on that. Full size, in fact. Let's go over there. Up. Up. There we go. All right. And go ahead and do this one as well. Sure that it's fully covered. Sorry to paint outside the lines, we just don't want to miss anything. Alright. Get this all filled in here. This part's the straightforward part. The hard part is going to be, or well, not hard, but a little bit more detail, and the challenging part is going to be doing the white part of the KEDs, you know, on the toe area and so forth, because we have to be very careful with that. All right, now that part's going to need to be done on the actual character itself. So I'm going to put the 2D view away, and I'm going to, now we'll be able to use our mirroring. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting that area that's going to be you know, sort of the bottom part of the KED, which is like, you know, a white sort of you know, a rubbery part. And so I'm going to get a just basic white color. I'm not going to use, so I have to remember to uncheck this, otherwise it'll start painting this again. So you have to uncheck the brush image if you want to use color. And I'm going to start working on, I'm going to need to get a smaller brush, by the way, also. And it wouldn't hurt to zoom in just a little tighter. Now, one of the things that's going to be the most challenging about this, I think, is going to be to, you know, go around the inside, which is going to be very difficult because the feet are so close together. But I'm just going to give this a start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by drawing a line that will represent rotate around a little bit. It's going to represent the bottom part of the sort of sole of the shoe, I guess, if you want to call it that. I'm going to switch over to this view here and see how good of a job I can do with drawing all the way around to the heel. Sometimes when you get into these funny angles, it starts to misbehave a little bit, but it's doing all right. Excellent. There we go. All right, so that's going to help an awful lot. So what we can do now to expedite this is once again go into 2D view. That would have been very difficult to do in 2D view because of being flattened. Look at the line here. It looks all crooked, but actually if you look at it in the 3D view, it's pretty straight. You know, and that's really the key here, is that when it's flattened out in this mapping coordinate here, you can't tell, you know, how you're supposed to do this to get this right. So what we had to do was create at least a guideline, and now I can go in here and really fill this in really quickly and much more effectively, I believe. I should zoom in just a little bit more. Okay. Let's go ahead and fill this in. Be careful about this. That's the reason why I wanted to zoom in. Sometimes you think you're filling it in nicely, and because you're not close enough, you really can't tell that you're missing spots. I can go with a bigger brush. That wouldn't hurt at the stage, just simply because we're just filling in with the color. It's not a texture. But you don't want the brush to be too big, because then it becomes awkward. We're getting to this part right here, so I'm going to go almost up to the line, and then I'm going to deal with a smaller brush here now. And then do the same on the other side over here. Now the interesting thing here is, let's take a look at this in the on the back here, back side. See, that needs to be filled in a little bit more. But what's nice about this, I think I pointed this out before when we were working on this, is I can go in now and work on this part here and see how much is being filled in. I don't want to get any of the genes, because remember, there's a slight overlap between the genes and the... Let me go with a smaller brush just to be really a little bit more precise. Just about got it there. Okay, good. That's going to work. There we go. Now let's go over to here. And let's turn around our character so we can actually see what we're doing here. We should be able to see what's being painted when we're doing these textures in the 2D view here. Now that's on the other side, the inside. So it's around the inside of this. Oops, around. All right. So all the way over to here, watch, that's the bottom, that's kind of wrapping around to the bottom of the shoe a little bit. And before I go too far here, because I wasn't able to finish, I want to make sure I rotate the character around so I can see what I'm actually doing on the character itself when I'm painting in the 2D view. This 2D view is perfect for filling in large areas like this, and then you want to work on the character to get the detail stuff done. All right. All right, so let's get it's taken care of. And just keep going up. It's about as high as I want to go there now. I have a feeling it's going to follow that edge pretty well. There we go. And then maybe a little bit like here. There, not bad. Okay, and I can always touch up on the other shoe. Alright, let's get the other side. It did. Oh yeah, we have to get the other shoe. Okay, so let's work on this shoe, which means we need to rotate around in this view. I need to zoom in quite a bit here. I'm going to maximize this a bit here. Wouldn't hurt to actually zoom in a bit as well. All right, here we go. Let's rotate around the back, make sure I didn't mess anything up. That seems fine. Okay, good. And I'm going to work on the other side a little bit because I can actually see that a little bit better right away here. Oh no, I can't. What am I thinking? Actually, this is the side over here. So that's okay. Let's just rotate this back around so we can see a little bit of that. It doesn't have to be, you know, doesn't have to be perfect because it's on the inside here, and I can see well enough what I'm doing. For the most part, right here, I'm going to rotate around to the back of the shoe. That's where I really need to pay attention. Idea what's going on when I'm painting. Okay, work on the other side now. Turn this around so I can see the results of what I'm doing here. Okay. Now we're going to add a bump map to this also, which will really give it a nice feel for sort of a separation between this basic sole and sort of the toe area that kind of is an oval shape. Let's go around over here with this so we can see what's going on. There we go. Good. Oops, didn't mean to zoom in there. Sometimes I accidentally hit the mouse button on my, or not mouse button, but the button on my pen, and it goes haywire. Almost there. More, I think I'm just going to make a straight line here. Pretty much right. All right, good. Put this away now. Now the rest of it we're going to paint right on the shoe, because it's the only way we're really going to be able to get that look. And what I'm getting at is that if you know what a pair of Keds looks like, the idea is that you have this like this. Whoop, rotate around. You have this shape that's sort of a toe area right here. And what I'm going to do here is, let's see, I'm going to get started, let's say right about here. I want a smaller brush though, and I also want to zoom in just a little bit more so I can really get that detail correct. Smaller brush, just a little, actually moving it in like that will do the trick. Alright, so we want to create a shape. Dang, got it. Keep bumping my my button here. All right, bring this up. Just come up at an angle about like that, and then kind of come across. This and down like that. Okay. Now I'm going to do something here that will help, I think, when we're working on the bump map later. I want to leave a little tiny bit of a dark line there as sort of a guideline for where I'm going to create a indentation, or at least a simulation of an indentation, because that's all the bump map does, of a concave little area there to separate these two parts, because this part right here on those shoes actually end up protruding slightly from the upper part here, this toe part. Okay, I'm going to get a bigger brush now because I can start going down this. I'm actually going to change the hardness to about 50% right now, and I'll be a little more accurate with filling this in. It won't be so fuzzy on the edges here. Go a little faster. And once we're done with this painting, which we're almost at, we're going to work with the layer. Do this around a little bit. Rotate this around. Rotate it some more because it's not liking that angle. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. And this little bit of a line right here will be nice to help us with our bump map. Okay, so there we have that part. And we're going to create, when we do this bump map in a little bit, we're going to make it feel like this rubber is raised from this part of the shoe just a little bit, and even more so down here, just to make it look more believable. All right. First, before we move on to the next video to do that, we're going to go into the shoe layer here and make an adjustment. And we're going to adjust, once again, the brightness and contrast. I want these shoes to be much darker than the pants. And so I'm going to reduce the brightness a little bit, increase the contrast a little bit, decrease the saturation quite a lot, because I want them to be a little bit darker and sort of more of almost almost not quite black. Maybe even adjust the hue a little bit. I don't know. And let's do this. Increase the contrast. There we go. Brightness. We don't want them to look exactly dull. And then reduce the saturation. And then they look like a different material. Then, dang it, I forgot to say okay. Let's do that all over again. Try that one more time. Brightness and contrast. Okay. Bring down the bring up the contrast, make it darker. Bring up the brightness just a little bit, and then reduce the saturation quite a lot. There we go. Should have said okay. I just put it away instead. Maybe the contrast could be a little bit more. The brightness could be a little less. And the saturation a little less. There we go. That looks better. Now say okay. And now we have it. Okay, so we can zoom out now. Okay, so now his shoes look a little bit more like, you know, Keds or something like that. All right, so we're in pretty good shape for right now for the diffuse map. Doesn't mean that we're not going to add more things to the diffuse map later, but those are going to be some real detail areas that I'm going to apply, like maybe some freckles on his face and stuff like that. But I think it's time to move on to the bump map area and the specular highlight map area and work on that. So that's what we're going to be doing in the next video.